Gary Moore is the guy you don't see. He's the hidden creative artist working behind the scenes on many projects. Gary talks to us today about his creative background and his latest project as lead developer on the YDIE Metaverse platform.
Hello, my name is Jessica Blackshear. I'm here with Gary Moore. Hello, Gary.
Hello, how are you, Jessica? It's a pleasure.
Most definitely. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for coming to my studio today. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure of mine.
Yes, really, we're really funny about who we let like in our creative space. So, but we're welcome to have you. So my name is Gary Moore. As you said, I'm the lead developer of the YDIE Metaverse project. And basically what that is we're trying to take the concept from the movie Ready Player One and make it an actual concept, an app that you can download for, the Oculus Quest and that new Apple VR glasses. And, I think there's a couple more out there on the market, but it's a pretty standard programming. It'll be coming really soon to an app a marketplace store, near you.
Yeah.
I've been a developer for over 30 years.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, 30 years. When I first started developing websites, there was no one really in my community that I could discuss it with because it was just so new. And then at that time, it was America Online, so they sent these discs out to everybody's house, and that's how the populations now became aware of the internet and started using it.
Oh, wow.
But
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, but I started multimedia has always been a thing. I started off, I'm a musician. I play piano, and I started off like with audio engineering, and then I went into, as the technology evolved, I went into digital audio recording, and then I expanded to video editing and graphic design. And my first corporate job was at Kellogg's.
Oh, wow.
In Battle Creek, Michigan, where I designed like Tony the Tiger boxes, Dig 'em Smacks, all of the cereal, the Rice Krispie treats, all of the Kellogg brands, and in the cereals. And it was at that time that I was like, okay, well, I have a value to myself. So in my downtime, I used to take like the characters, Tony the Tiger and the Dig 'em Smacks character, and so on and so forth, and I used those characters to create a game. Yeah, so the manager, he came through one day to my office, and he seen what I developed. It was like a little game. You can jump on a skateboard and ride through the city and throw bowls of cereal at different characters, whatever. But I was, I wanted to learn the language. Long story short, they wound up selling it. It was like they put it in the cereals, and it was at that time that I was like, okay, well, I have a value to myself. So, from that point, I started to venture out more as a freelance developer.
So, I heard a little bit about you being in the music industry. How long were you in the music industry for?
Well, off and on, for like over 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I started off, a friend of mine called me to LA to work with this little independent label called Black Market Records. I was there like maybe 3-6 months. I started feeling comfortable with some things going on there I wasn't too comfortable with, so I left. And I went back to Jersey, because Jersey is where my Jamaican family is. So whenever I try to get away from the world, I go hang out with my Jamaican family. But through them, I went to a party with one of my cousins, and I met this gentleman by the name of Commissioner Gordon Williams. And at the time, I didn't know who he was, but it turns out like this guy, he had like 8 Grammys. He had worked with all of these people.
Oh, wow.
And, we had this conversation, and he was really intrigued with my skill set. So he invited me over to his studio, and that turned out to be like a 15-year working relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was through Gordon that I learned how to negotiate like big deals. I mean, he's produced and worked with like some of the major artists over the last 25, 30 years. So I was working with him for 15 years in the capacity of his multimedia developer.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Labels would give him the budget to produce the artist, and then I would do like the photography and design their website and create the MP3s to save. Because at that time, that's when iTunes started literally destroying the music industry.
Heard about that.
Yeah, because the MP3 downloads was crazy then. You're probably from the Napster generation. It was just ending. Yeah, the
Right.
Napster thing, Apple expounded on that and they came out the iPod and the MP3 thing. So that's like around the time when technology really started to like change industries. Because it was at that time that in the music industry, just the evolution of the iPod, it changed the whole way that music was distributed.
Oh
And,
wow.
and a lot of artists were upset because they felt like they weren't getting their cut. But that wasn't my role in the industry. My role in the industry was always like behind the camera, behind the lights.
Sounds a lot like me.
Yeah, yeah, but
Right,
that's
right,
what I'm
right.
comfortable at. It's like I don't do
Right.
too many of these kind of interviews.
So I talked to you a bit earlier about the nonprofit and how you are into that kind of thing. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, um, again, that was something I got into again with Gordon. Um, we had him through a mutual friend. He was the dean of admissions at a college in New Jersey
Mhm.
called Catherine Gibbs, and he thought it would be cool if he introduced us to the then president.
Mhm.
And so we came up with a little rough draft for a curriculum for a digital audio recording program. Well, fast forward, that turned into like an actual 2 years
Mhm.
of like researching and writing. They put us with a couple of professors to help our program become accredited by the state of New Jersey.
Mhm.
So ultimately, it became an accredited program.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a 2 year associate program, and that was at the Catherine Gibbs College, and that was in Livingston, New Jersey.
Mhm.
And it was around at that time too. We was doing a lot, like taking music into the inner city schools. We take like live bands and we take like video presentations and show them because we were doing like some touring with this artist Leela James at the time. So we would take video in the school if we couldn't get a band and show the kids different places like South Africa and different places that we've been to. But then that led us to the ultimate of Mr. Bill Strickland
Mhm.
out of Philadelphia of the Manchester Bidwell Corporation. And it was with Mr. Strickland that we learned how to use like art to heal like the trauma of
Mhm.
like certain childhood abuses. Like he's all about that. He had been doing it like since the 60s. He had got like this huge grant and he had built like 3 centers in Philadelphia. And his fourth center was in Cleveland, and that's when
Mhm.
we met him. So before us, he had in his program, he was teaching like like the really like the old style of recording
All
with the
right.
huge mixing board and
Right.
the technology
Exactly.
was kind of outdated. Most
Yeah.
nonprofits, their technology is outdated.
Oh wow.
So we
Didn't know
kind of
that.
yeah, most nonprofits their technology because they don't really concentrate on digital arts.
Right.
They really concentrate more on sporting and more athletics and stuff. Not too much with technology, but it was Newbridge, Cleveland that we modified our college curriculum, the
Mhm.
associate program that we
Right.
wrote. We
Uh-huh.
modified that for high school students
Oh wow.
because his program was for at-risk students,
Mhm.
and so what we added to his program was the talents that I had, the photography, the digital audio recording. Of course, Gordon, he was like a master at the digital audio recording. He won like 9 Grammys at the time. I think he's like up to 13 now.
Oh beautiful.
But for my part, I expanded the curriculum to include like web development, coding, game programming, video editing, motion graphics, just all the tools that I use in my arsenal because at
Mhm.
one time I was those kids. But yeah, so I've done a lot with the nonprofits. I've helped nonprofits in America and abroad, like the Caribbean and Ethiopia, That's a whole other story.
Oh, wow. So, tell me a little bit, like, how did you really get into the technology business? So you talk about the nonprofit in this, and can you see, like, you could give me a little bit of information about your childhood a little bit? How did you get here? How did it flourish the way it flourished right now?
That's a broad question. Well, like I said, I've been into technology probably a long time, since high school, and I've just always had like a passion for it. So as you know, a lot of people, in my age group, they like the last few years they've like switched careers or just left it alone because they said the technology changes, too often and it's too much to learn and relearn. But for me, I guess I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had that issue. So just working with into the metaverse is just a natural process for me because the metaverse is just basically a new way of designing websites. It's just broader pipes and you can get broader information through. So you can actually develop gaming style websites, gaming style commerce site, and you can experience with virtual reality glasses, with Omni treadmills. Like the technology is, it's magnifying and multiplying so quick that a lot of people are gonna get like lost in the dust. The AI technology is taking over everything, scripting. In our YDIE metaverse world, our avatars are so realistic. The skin, the hair, the movement. The technology, the virtual technology, the virtual aspects of the internet. The metaverse is definitely here. It's not Zuckerberg's, but it's definitely here, and it's going to be a common thing within the next 1 to 2 years. Everyone's going to be on the metaverse.
Well, due to the information that I did research about you, you're also part of, you're one of the lead developers of the YDIE Metaverse?
Yes, that's that. Yes, I am. I was actually how that came about is I was actually developing my own virtual world, but actually I was just developing a mall. I was gonna just develop an interactive mall to sell NFTs and real world products.
Right.
And I had a couple clients, that I was working with that was willing to rent stores there. But then through a mutual acquaintance, I met Mr. Mark, and he had this vision for an entire metaverse world. He called it his e-metaverse. And
Wow.
he sent me all of his information. We had a phone call, and 3 days later, I was at his place in Houston, and we were creating a deal, and we've been working on it ever since. It's been like a little bit over a year now,
Oh,
but
beautiful. That's
we're getting
beautiful.
close to
Wow.
launch dates.
Wow, this is amazing, guys. I'm, just sitting down with Gary Moore here. I don't want to put too much on him. It sounds like he's some crazy genius, guys.
Yeah.
But it's a pleasure, talking with him, talking about his background, and it's just amazing. Just knowing the information for myself, and just talking with you is just amazing, and the knowledge that you have. So do you have any further things to say about anything that you just want the people to know?
Well, just I would just like to say in closing that
The metaverse and the evolution of the internet, it's the same as the transformation of dial-up to broadband, except this evolution is from broadband to ultraband. Everyone will be in the metaverse very soon, sooner than most think.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much for your interview. That was amazing.